Hey kid, don't ever let them get inside your head. They'll tell you what to do in life instead of everything you know that you could get. Don't let them guide your life towards regret. I'll fight for what I love with every breath. My past is filled with things I won't forget. I use them all to push me to my best. So treat the worst of times just like a test. If only I could go back in time, I'd tell myself that everything will end up alright. Just push yourself, test yourself, figure out what you like, and find your limits, don't be rigid, always work towards a prime. Surround yourself with open minds, people can change your life. A few friends with intent can help you feel alive. Find a passion, take some action, and with a little time, just be patient, make a statement, try to enjoy your life. They'll try to keep.
All right, what is up, Utah fans? This is Joseph back with the Utah Utes Football Digest, and we have a big one this week. First, I would like to start off by saying there's a few things that have really pissed me off recently. The first thing that really pissed me off was Spider-Man 2 only came out for the PS5, and I found that pretty damn annoying. The other thing that really pissed me off recently was paper straws. Paper straws feels like you're trying to get technology to go somewhere it's not ready to go. The other thing that really pissed me off was the disrespect that Utah is getting in the CFP poll and from the national media. We are number 18 in the CFP poll after beating the crap out of a team that almost beat Washington 55-3. I said it in the live stream after the game that people were going to act like that was not an awesome win. Utah beat the crap out of a team that was on the rise, and we deserve the respect that comes with that. On top of that, we're a 9.5-point underdog going against Washington. We're going to talk about it all, guys. It's going to be a great podcast here. As you guys get in, smash that like button, comment down below as we go along with the show. We're going to be going over a lot of different topics. Larry says paper straws do suck. I agree. They're worst thing in the world. It ruins my whole restaurant experience when they give me a paper straw. But it's going to be a heck of a time, guys. Let's have a great time. Let's bring on our guests. Brian Ankrum, Wild Ute, Pac-12 Pilgrim, Larry Pilgrim. It is good to have the whole crew in tonight. Nothing more fun than a jam-packed live stream like this. Larry, let's start with you, man. How are you feeling tonight? Are you hyped?
Yeah, I'm hyped. I'm a little nervous. Going up to Husky Stadium. I hate that place.
For sure. Brian, how you feeling?
I'm ready for this one. You know, we haven't had good luck up there. We spent a lot of time up there too. They don't usually come to Rice Eccles, but it's that time. They're trending downward. I love the way we looked last week. I'm ready for a big win come Saturday afternoon.
Dope, dude. I'm feeling it. Wild Ute, how you feeling?
I'm feeling real loose, guys. We've got nothing to lose here. Nothing to lose. Everyone's picking us to lose this game. We're 10-point dogs in this game. Like, it seems like these games, when we're counted out, we're gonna come out fighting. And I'm telling you, like, we've got the heart of a champion. We're the back-to-back champs. People forget that all the time. It hasn't been mentioned for a long time. We've been counted out. This is the one you have to have. This is the one they don't think you can get. This is the one that I think they're going to get. And they're going to shock the world here. But the 18 ranking was honestly a slap in the face, disrespect after the AP puts us to 13. Yeah, and I see like Matt Castleton out in the chat too. I saw he was upset about that too. We've got some folks that are just upset, about that. Just the disrespect. But you know what? Let's totally eat that disrespect up this week and take it out on the Huskies, seriously, because I'm feeling like we're not given much of a shot to win this game, and we're totally going to swing and punch these guys and go out like a champ.
I saw someone post on Twitter yesterday that this is a fake Utah team. I saw a Husky fan say that. That pissed me off too, dude. I feel like we are primed for an upset. It feels good. I feel like Larry, I'm with you. I'm nervous, but like Wild Ute said, we have nothing to freaking lose and everything to gain. This feels like the type of game where we win. Washington is a paper top of the Pac-12 champ type of deal, and we are going to knock them off. It's going to be a good
paper
time,
straw.
guys.
Paper straw.
Paper
top of the pack.
All right, guys. Well, a ton of fun. Let's start talking about some of the topics. Last week, Utah blew the roof off the stadium when we played ASU, took it to them. A team that was a lot tougher than that final score showed, but a game that was completely dominant from beginning to end for Utah. Let's talk about it. So after reflecting, guys, we had a couple days here. How are we feeling coming off the ASU game? Is Utah really good? Is ASU really bad? Is it somewhere in the middle? Let's hear some opinions on this Utah squad. Wild Ute, go ahead and get us started there.
Yeah, ASU was in big trouble coming into this game. I don't care what their record was. Utah wasn't going to lose that game coming off an absolutely embarrassing Oregon loss. There's no way. We've got a better coach, the home field advantage, restart the streak. I'm not surprised at all. I knew we were going to dominate those turkeys. And so that wasn't a shock because of the loss the week before. And plus, I figured something out with this Utah team, guys. Like when it's really quiet, eerily kind of spooky quiet from the Ute squad, you know that a good performance is coming. But if the Ute squad's out there chatting, getting the media's eye and stuff, pulling the Coach Prime crap, we're in big trouble. In that college game day week and stuff, when Witt came out in that motorcycle, I was like, oh my gosh, this is not good. This is Utah football. I haven't heard a chat here about like this Washington game. Everybody's just been tight-lipped. Serious business. It was the same thing last week, so it kicked the freaking butts. We dominated all facets. I mean, no surprise.
Awesome. Good take, man. I feel that. It's almost like I remember during the Oregon game, I wasn't sure how to feel. It was kind of like you knew it was going to swing one way or the other, that this was going to be a good thing or it was going to be a bad thing. Brian, how are you feeling coming off this ASU game? Was ASU bad? Was Utah really good? What really happened?
It can be a little of both. I think Utah is definitely trending in the right direction. We didn't look good the week prior against Oregon offensively, but the 2 weeks before that against Cal and then USC, it was our best offensive performances, up to date. With those two games, we just kind of hit a brick wall against Oregon, came out flat. Oregon's a really good team. We're not trying to downplay that, but it shouldn't have been the discrepancy in the score like we saw, especially at home. The team got pissed off. Ledwig seems to be opening up the playbook for Barnes, which is critical. I loved what they did the first two drives with the tempo offense. I like getting the ball out to the wide receiver quick and running some of those wide receiver screens, and just watching last week what USC was doing against that Washington defense. They're susceptible in that area. And I just think that we can expand a lot on what we did last week. Our running game was fantastic. Our offensive line was fantastic. I feel really good about this. ASU, on the other hand, they were decimated offensively. They had 6 offensive line starters dress. Was that right? There was something like that. It was 6 offensive linemen dress. They were down. They were down to some, I guess their 4th string quarterback, and including Scattaboo had to play quarterback a little bit there. So they weren't scoring against that Utah defense. They got lucky on one long kick return, and that was their only points of the game. And outside of that, they would have been shut out.
How about that Scattaboo pass, guys? Did you see that Scattaboo
It wasn't
pass?
bad, yeah.
I love Scattaboo. What a good player.
That was surprising, yeah. Larry, what's your opinions coming out of that ASU game?
I think Utah was I think they played one of their best games, complete as a team. And I think ASU, they got gassed by their Washington game. I think they gave their all up at Washington, and I think they ran out of gas, which now Washington is coming off that big game that they just had. So I feel like Utah played their best game so far this year as a team, as a complete team. I feel like.
Yeah, it definitely felt like a mix of both, right? I'll just share my thoughts on it. It was ASU looked pretty damn bad. I don't think ASU was as bad as they looked, because I think Utah just looked awesome on the other end of it, right? We came out firing on all cylinders. It felt like every aspect of the game, even the cornerback 2 position, which I've been super critical of, was firing on all cylinders, and like every spot on both sides of the ball for Utah really looked impressive. So I'm with you guys. I feel like it was a mix of the two, but I think I'm much more confident for Utah heading into this game that we were able to dominate a Power 5 team like ASU. So good sign. All right, guys, next thing, let's talk about Nate Johnson. I ran a poll. There was a lot going on in that game, but I think for a lot of us, what really stood out is Nate Johnson getting back on that field and just showing that he is an incredible athlete. I mean, just no one on that defense was even close to as fast as Nate Johnson. He was blazing on that. What was it, a 70-yard run? Something crazy like that. It was huge. But I think it brings into thought Nate Johnson and his future with Utah, his future with the program. I ran a poll on my Twitter page at Utah Utes Balling that had that was asking, where do you want to see Nate Johnson play football for Utah? Like, what position do you want to see him play? The number 1 vote was for wide receiver by a huge margin. Number 2 was running back. And 2 was way higher than anything else, but pretty far from number 1. Then 3rd was quarterback, and 4th was DB, not that far behind quarterback. I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Where do you see Nate Johnson play moving forward? Brian, we'll have you start us off here, man. Where do you see Nate Johnson moving forward?
Yeah, I love Nate Johnson's athleticism, and his speed is unmatched out there. Like you said, you saw it on that run. I think it was a 54-yard run. You're getting a little bit out there with the 70, but that's all right. Anyways, as much as I love the kid and his athleticism, I just don't see him, his future as quarterback for the University of Utah. But that's not to say he can't still remain with the program. We've seen it so many times. I mean, it was kind of like that Jaquindon Jackson thing where he just couldn't win the starting job. And I just don't see Nate Johnson being able to win the starting job, just looking in the future and the quarterbacks, coming in. You got Isaac Wilson coming in the future. And then, next year, we don't know what's going to happen, whether Cam Rising comes back or if we get a transfer portal quarterback, or even Brandon Rose. We don't know what's going on with him. I just don't see Nate winning that. I would love to see him at wide receiver. I voted on your poll. I voted wide receiver. That top end speed is something that can't be taught. Athleticism, he can go out there and learn that position. He probably played quite a bit of it in high school, I imagine. I don't know exactly what he played besides quarterback. I know he didn't start playing quarterback till late in his high school career, but he's got the body for it. What is he like? Is he like 6'2", 6'1", 6'2"?
Something like that. Yeah.
He's pretty built. I don't like seeing him at running back just because he doesn't seem he's fast, but he's not as elusive, and he doesn't see holes as well as other running backs do, in my opinion. So that's where I'd like to see him out of the wide receiver position.
I think that's a great take because we've seen him run up the gut quite a few times this year and have to get between the tackles. I agree. It seems like wide receiver out there in the open space is a much more natural fit, Brian. Larry, what do you think, man? Where do you see Nate Johnson moving forward for Utah?
Yeah, I agree. I think kind of in that wide receiver slot, jet sweep. I see him as a receiver. Running back, he's not a running back. I don't think he's a defensive back either. He did play wide receiver, I think, in high school up until 2020 is when he got his shot at quarterback. So, yeah, I think receiver. And that's if he stays with the program. I don't even know right now if he could start at a mid G5 school. I think he's just that far behind.
Yeah, so I think his play early in the year is kind of a blessing in disguise for Utah because I don't think anywhere else is going to want to bring him on as a quarterback. So it's a good point, Larry. Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of schools out there. I love Nate Johnson. He seems like a really awesome kid. Like he really does. So don't hear what I'm not saying. Nothing against Nate Johnson. I just think it's kind of a good thing for us that his quarterback play was so rough. And hopefully that means we get to keep him at a different position. Go for it, Larry.
Look at Chase Hansen. He came out of, I think, was it Layton as a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
They moved him to safety, and then he went to linebacker. Then he went to the NFL. So just trust this program. If you've got a chance in the league, they'll find where you've got an opportunity and they'll put you there.
Really
so in case
point,
if Nate has listened to this, just trust the program, trust those coaches. They'll get you to the next level.
Good. All right, Wild Ute, what are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, these guys are nails on exactly what's going on with Nate. Is he going to stay around the program? I mean, I think that he's probably going to leave if he has another opportunity. That's a good opportunity to play quarterback. I don't know how good his hands are. It's promising that Larry, you said that he played high school wide receiver. So if he's got good hands, then he's got the body of a wide receiver. Like, and there's plenty of prototypical NFL wide receivers like McCole Hardman. They can just run straight lines. They're just straight up speed. They don't really have many moves, but they're just burners. So if he can catch, he could become that. I don't know if he's got the hands for it, though. As far as running back, he's not a running back because he doesn't have the physicality, guys. Like, one of the things with Nate is he shies away from contact. He doesn't run through people. He tries to run away from them. I just don't see him having the physicality to succeed at running back or really any defensive position for that regard. So really it's quarterback, gadget player, or a wide receiver if he's got the hands for it.
Yeah, really good points all around there. And this guy, Milk Patoni, however you say that, kind of agreed with what Larry and Wild you just said, that you got to see if he has the hands. I feel like hands is one of those things that can be coached, though. Playing football for a long time, it's like if you really dedicate to catching a couple hundred balls a day on the jugs machine, like you can get pretty decent hands. Like they may never be great, but like you guys said, I think with his speed, the separation can make up for hands a little bit and some drops here and there. So my number one thing, and Utah Football Stats and Analysis, it's a great page on Twitter if you guys don't follow them. He's an awesome guy. He made a comment under my post that was how we could use Nate as a hybrid weapon, kind of like a Taysom Hill, but at wide receiver instead of tight end. That got me so excited. Seriously, imagine Bryson Barnes or whoever, Cam Rising, whoever, like a legit quarterback at QB1, Jaquindon Jackson at running back, and Nate Johnson at wide receiver. The insane trick plays that you would be able to get out of that playbook are just exciting for me, at least. All right, guys, now let's move on to the next topic, Bryson Barnes. Bryson Barnes has had a few good weeks recently, right? The bad week against Oregon, but overall in the past few weeks, there's been some good ones. We have the USC game. We have the ASU game. Obviously, ASU, we didn't light up the stat sheet, but if you watch the game, it was super impressive. He put us in a position where we didn't need to throw anymore, right? I was super impressed. Wild Ute, let's let you lead this one off, man. What do you think about Bryson Barnes? Where's your confidence level in him going into this game?
He looks more poised now than he was earlier this year, but Barnes is who he is, right? Like, I mean, he doesn't really have a very good deep ball. He's tough and like, he's a leader, he's gritty and stuff. So, we all love him for who he is, and so I'm not going to say anything negative about Bryson Barnes based on his history with the program and stuff. Like, he will be the starter for the rest of this year, and then he will hand the reins over to either Cam Rising or Isaac Wilson. These are the last few games that he'll start in the Utah uniform. We might need him again next year if we get hurt and stuff, but he's going to have to play the best game of his life to beat Washington this week, and he's going to have to make some passes in the intermediate and long passing game to win this football game. He can't just have short passes. So his toughness, his grit, his leadership, we need it. We need it this weekend bad, and then I'm hoping that he can pull a rabbit out of the hat and bust off some big-time plays and play the game of life to get the dub here. UW.
Love it. Yeah. Hopefully he rises to the occasion and makes something happen. Brian, you go next, man. What do you think? Where's your confidence level in Bryson Barnes right now?
It's high right now. He's definitely getting more comfortable at the position. The playbook's opening up for him. That's going to help him out a lot. He can make a lot more throws than what people think. And I'll disagree a little bit. I think he has a fairly decent deep ball. Maybe not on his arm strength so much. He can't throw it as far as some others, but I feel like his accuracy is pretty decent on the deep ball. We've seen it a couple of years ago in the Rose Bowl with that throw to Kincaid. I mean, it's not a 50, 60 yard in the air throw, but if he can get it 40 to even 40 to 50 yards in the air, I feel like he has decent accuracy. We just need to open that up more and let Money Parks do his thing. That's the guy that needs to be going for those. He's got other receivers that are the big possession type receivers that can go up and just get those 50-50 balls in Vele and now McLean. I mean, I think that gives him a lot of confidence. What happened last weekend with McLean, in the back of that end zone where he just basically threw it up for him. I think his running ability has really come to light. He can run the ball. He's a good scrambler, and he's making good decisions. 3 of the last 4 games. So if he can keep doing that against Washington, I think we can move the ball on them. They give up, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit, but they give up a lot of yards, especially in the passing game. So there's a real opportunity here for Bryson Barnes to really supplant himself in Utah's lore with a giant win at Washington.
That's a good point, dude. It's funny. You were talking about his arm strength. Have you guys ever seen, he's connected on some deep balls, like you said? It's it's not that bad of arm strength. But have you ever seen a guy put his body into the throw as much as Bryson Barnes does? It literally looks like he's shot putting the ball. He's just everything he's got when he goes deep, which is, it works.
Do what you got to do, right?
but definitely, you can tell he has to give it everything he's got. Larry, and what are your thoughts? Where is your confidence in Bryson Barnes? You going to be right in the middle of these two? That's my guess.
Yeah, I have. Well, it's kind of funny. One of my friends, he's a coach. He actually finally, because the Pee-wees, his team won their championship, but he finally got to go to one of the games. Yeah, and so we've been talking for a while, and he said there were guys running wide open. He only watches one half of the field. He said there were guys, Money Parks, that were wide open, and he was only seeing one side of the field. And so to me, we've had some talks. Ludwig's going to have a hell of a game plan, and he's going to have Bryson being able to read the keys, because we talked about that. Bryson can kind of read a defense. Bryson does not really know where to go with the ball after the snap. I kind of felt like that. I think he's good, and I think Ludwig's the guy to get him set up. I'm just hoping our game plan is going good. And I did see Dallin Bentley in the Arizona State game. He came in second half. He didn't get any targets, but my God, did you see him running? And that dude's a guy. I wouldn't doubt if he gets a breakout and we go with a 12 personnel. I'm kind of thinking we might see some new stuff. And I think Bryson can play in that 12 personnel, because that's what he practiced with last year. So maybe we can get back to that. And that's kind of what I'm hoping for. I think did.
Didn't Bentley spring or deliver that block to get Nate Johnson that big run? Yeah.
Yeah. And then
when Landon, I was just thinking that.
No, you're good. And then when Landon King got his touchdown, Bentley was right behind him, wide open. So, Bryson had 2 choices. I'm hoping that Dallin's good to go, and I'm hoping we run 12 personnel, because I think that did fit Bryson really good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Good points, Larry.
Yeah. So hopefully Ludwig's got a great plan. If he does, I think Bryson can execute if Ludwig sets him up. So that's where I sit.
Good points. Yeah, it feels like Bryson can definitely get it done if the opportunity's there. I have a lot of faith in Bryson. I'd say my confidence, I'm more with Brian. I'm pretty excited after that game. I'd say Bryson got me in a good mood. Larry, I did see plays, even in the highlight reel, I saw plays where there was wide open receivers, and Bryson is not throwing to them, but he holds onto the ball, and the O-line does a good enough job to not get him sacked, and someone else gets open, whoever he's staring down. But I do notice that quite a bit as well. I feel like we're definitely going to need to – that's, we'll talk about keys of the game later, but that's probably a good point to bring up. All right, now let's move into the next topic. Let's talk about a player on the Utah team that we would love to see get more usage. I'm sure a lot of us are going to have the same answer, but I'm hoping we don't. So if we do have the same answer, don't feel bad. There's one guy that I've even made a video on him, so you guys might know what I'm talking about. There's a lot of different players on Utah that we would all love to see get more usage in the Washington game and throughout the rest of the season. Let's talk about it. Who do we want to see get more usage? Larry, who's the guy?
I think Landon King. I think he's a guy that every game his confidence, you see it grow. He's getting something going. And I think he's a dude. So that's my guy that I think I want to see get more involved.
Yeah, and he's such a good receiver, dude. And there's a connection there, right? It feels like he and Bryson hook up well.
That catch he had at the 2-yard line, just picked it off the ground, diving. That was awesome. Yeah.
And it feels like his swagger and his confidence is high right now. Like Landon wants the ball. Like he wants to go slam it in the end zone. Wild, what about you, man? Who do you want to see get some more touches?
Minir McLean. That's who I want to see get more playing time. I mean, yeah, you got to give this man the ball. he's one of the best weapons that we have, and just doesn't get enough touches. It's growing, though. The momentum's growing. So get the man the ball. Also, we touched on this before. There's a really big opportunity for getting Nate Johnson more touches and more gadget-type plays. And I think Nate, we don't want Nate out there every snap, but they should be out there for 3 or 4 snaps a game because he can throw the football. I mean, you don't trust him to read a defense in the pocket, but I think in a gadget play scenario, let him run it or throw the football. I would love to see more of that too, just add some dynamic ability. But I think McLean, and Johnson.
You did really good points. And Brian, I'll let you go in a second, but since he brought up McLean, I'm just going to follow up on it. McLean's my guy too. I'm sure you guys knew who I was talking about. McLean is an animal. Honestly, when you look at a per snap receiving yards, it is ridiculous right now. I'm almost nervous that we have like an NFL level. I'm serious. I'm not being over the top. I'm like nervous that we have a real weapon and we are not using him enough. I think it's really weird that he is not on this field almost every snap. Like that play, oh my God. What was that, dude? He jumped 30 feet in the air. And on top of that, he's super fast. I mean, this kid is really caught my eye because when he was playing tight end, I was not impressed with him at all. But at receiver, he's a freaking animal. So I'm super excited for him. Sorry to cut in there, Brian. Why don't you go for your guy?
No, that's good because you all had very good choices there. My initial reaction was to Larry's because that was my choice.
I noticed.
King. Yeah. So, but I agree with everything you both said about McLean as well. But yeah, Landon King, he's really starting to open that tight end receiving role up again for Utah. That Y tight end, something we've lacked most of the year. And he has so much ability. They haven't really given him that shot because they said all year that he needs to put on weight. Well, you know what? He also has a ton of ability. Let's get him out there and get him catching some passes. That's what he does best. He was a receiver. It's funny because McLean was a tight end last year, now a receiver, and Landon King was a receiver last year, now a tight end. It's funny how that works, but
are both those guys juniors? I think they're both juniors. Is that correct?
Yeah, they both have. Landon King is only a sophomore.
Yeah,
and McLean has one year of eligibility left. Yeah. But yeah, Larry touched on that pass across the middle at the 2 that he dove and caught. But I wanted to circle back on the Bryson thing. I thought that was Bryson Barnes' best throw of the game. That was a phenomenal throw. Yeah. He floated it right over an an extended linebacker,
Mm-hmm.
and then basically threw Landon King open on that play, and that's
Mm-hmm.
something we haven't seen from Bryson. So I did want to touch on that. But yeah, I just like King. He's the ultimate team player. Everything he does, he's the first guy in. If another guy gets a touchdown, I mean, you saw how distraught he was when JJ got hurt. I don't know if everybody caught that. He cares about this team. He loves being at Utah. He loves being a Ute, and that's the kind of players we want to see in this program.
You guys, we're going to be so good next year.
I
You
know,
realize
dude.
that? Like, we're talking about the guys that aren't even going to be like the biggest key pieces if Rising and Keithy come back. This team is so good. It's going to be the best Utah team we've ever fielded next year if these guys return. It's exciting.
TJ Utes asks a question here before we move into the next topic. Is Washington's defense any better than USC's? Yes, it is better than USC's. USC's is pretty bad. I wouldn't say they're an amazing defense, though, but it's not super hard to be better than USC's defense. So, real quick, let's go ahead and dive in, talk about averages against common opponents. I'm going to kind of just break this down for everybody watching. So the other night I pulled, there's 4 games that USC and Utah have played the same opponents. Those games are Cal, Oregon, ASU. What's the other one? What am I missing? USC. Cal, Oregon, ASU, USC. So there's 4 games where we have played common opponents. In those 4 games, when it comes to yards allowed, USC or Utah has allowed 274 yards per game, and Washington has allowed 474 yards per game. So the numbers are wildly different. Utah's defense has held up way better than Washington's has. And I think the number one most surprising number is on offense for Utah and for Washington. In the 4 games against common opponents, Washington's average yards per game is 451 yards per game, and Utah's is 420. A 31-yard difference between an offense that people have painted a picture as being the worst thing in the world and an offense that people have painted a picture as being the best thing in the world. I just think the narrative right now feels so off of what this game actually is. There is a really good shot, guys. Just in those yardage totals alone against common opponents, Utah should have a huge yardage advantage. So I would just get excited, guys. If you guys are hyped for the game, seriously, smash the like button. I couldn't be happier to be on the show with you guys tonight. Seriously, thank you so much, all 3 of you, for coming on. It is a pleasure to be doing this. I'm having a ton of fun already.
Let's get
We're
them.
going to be going.
Let's play now.
We're still going to be going for a while tonight. It's going to be a great time, guys. Comment down below. We're going to ask a lot of questions. I want to hear everyone's opinion in the chat too. Subscribe to the channel. Let's get it done. It's going to be a ton of fun. Guys, do you guys want to touch on anything about the averages against common opponents before we move into the keys to the game?
What I'd be really curious about is how many possessions. I mean, I don't know. And you wouldn't have this data available, but how many possessions that an opponent of Washington has versus a Utah opponent based on the style of play, right? Because that's going to dictate yardage too, based on more plays, more possessions. Utah plays control, right? Clock control, limited yardage, less possessions. I'd bet that opponents probably have 2 more possessions in a Utah game and stuff.
That's a good point.
The ability to generate more yards and everything. I think the Washington defense, we're probably going to get that next segment. But yeah, that's one thing that I would think too, that makes sense to a degree because of added possessions.
Yeah,
no, I'm with you. Yeah, go for it.
I wanted to hit on one thing, especially with Washington's offense the last few games before USC. I heard around the rumor mill that possibly Penix was playing hurt, which would maybe explain, why they only scored 6 points against ASU and why they struggled before that. So he did look good last week. So maybe we take it with a grain of salt and just see what happens come Saturday against a very tough defense.
Larry, they all touched on it. You want to say anything?
No, as far as like that goes, points per drive kind of is what Philip Wild Ute was referring to. It is kind of strange. It is pretty evenly matched. And I heard Penix had the flu or something. So 2 weeks, because Washington almost lost that game and took the lead with 1:30 left in the game. Washington almost lost at Stanford. So to think Utah doesn't have a chance is just ridiculous. So struggle win against Stanford. I think we should be there. Competing.
Yeah, we're gonna dive in right after this, but even when you don't look at averages against common opponents, averages in the past 3 games, which is for Washington, that's Stanford, USC, and ASU, doesn't look great either. So I would just say I feel like we are primed to go be the Rocky and go knock this guy out, dude. It really feels that way. So let's dive in, guys. Let's talk about keys to the game. I'm actually going to go ahead and start on this one just to lead off and give an idea of what I'm looking for here. So first big time key to the game is protect the passer. Washington actually doesn't have that great of an offensive line. For sack percentage, they're 129th in the country at 3.34% on the season. It's a little higher over the past 3 games at 4.32. But think about those teams I just named: Stanford, ASU, and USC. Like, those are teams that you can sack. Like, they're not some elite groups. Like, that's an inflated number, and they have one of the worst sack percentages in the country. So holding the offensive line, keeping Bryson Barnes clean so he has time to make those mistakes we talked about, Larry, because he's going to make them. He's going to lock in on a guy. But our O-line holding up their end of the bargain and doing a good job, super important. On the other end, it's the exact opposite. This offensive line for Washington is off the damn charts, dude. Number 3 in the country for sack percentage allowed, 1.73% of their passing plays, and in a sack, that's nuts. By the way, shout out to San Antonio Ute, Brian Ankrum, for getting all this data put together for us. So don't think I spent all the time researching this. And over the past 3 games, it's just as high basically for Washington. This is a really intense pass blocking team. We have a great D line. Us getting back there and messing up Michael Penix's rhythm is going to be super important. We need to show that our D line is elite enough to get back there and make plays against this awesome offensive line, because it is going to be tough. This is Witt said it in the press conference. This is the best offensive line we've won against all season, and the numbers definitely back that up. The other thing I want to talk about, I brought up the yardages. So the first 2 are our offensive line versus their D-line versus our O-line. But the other thing I want to talk about is, we looked at the yardages. The yardage for Washington really isn't that crazy. Like, they have games where they put up a lot of yards, but it doesn't match the points per game. Like, it doesn't add up 100%. The number one thing we need to watch for is do not let them score. I know that sounds simple, but when they get big plays, tackle them. Like, do not let them go for a touchdown. Find a way to bring them to the ground, because that is one thing that Washington does really well. These receivers are really, really good. And when you have an opportunity, they're going to make a big play. Stop them for 25 or 30. Don't let them go for 60. Like, don't let them score the ball. I think if we can do those 3 things effectively, it will get us there. And just one last one, kind of just for fun. I think the other thing is Ludwig, we mentioned it earlier, pull out all the stops. Every single player that we want to touch the ball should touch the ball. Sione Vaki, get him in there. I don't care if it hurts us on defense a little. Our defense is going to have a tough go either way. We need to put up points against these guys. We're not going to win with 17 to 20 points. So is what it is there. I hope you guys appreciated that. Larry, I'm going to go ahead and let you get us started, man. Go for it.
Yeah, I agree. We've got to. I don't know if we're going to have JJ. I really think we just said the guys. We've got McLean. We've got King. We've got Bailey. We've got Matthews. I mean, you can't tell me that those guys can get open. I think we just need to create and just win this game through the air. This game, I wish we had Lander Barton. His size to deal with that old line. We don't have another linebacker that's 240 in a shit brick house like he is. So I think he's going to be missed mostly this game. Their old line is pretty good, but I don't know. I think our rotation in there, I think we'll be all right. I think we can make him uncomfortable. So that's where I'm sitting with this.
Cool. Perfect. Brian, let's go to you next, man. I know Wild Utes itching, so I'm going to let him just keep building up over there. Go for it, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be a huge broken record amongst all of us, but yeah, I'll throw in something a little bit differently because depending on what Washington gathered from when Oregon beat us a couple weeks ago, every pass was quick. They were getting the ball out of Bo Nix's hands to basically take away our best threat, which is the defensive line. So if Penix can do that, they're going to need something across the middle. They can't just keep going out to these receivers on the edge time and time again. So a big key, if they try to do that style of play, would be good pass defense by the linebackers. And you talked about Larry talked about Landon, or I'm tongue-tied now. Too many Landons and Landers, and talked about Lander Barton not being available. And yeah, that's going to be huge, but we're really going to miss him in pass defense, I think, because he's a really good pass defender as well. And I thought we missed him against Oregon. So that's going to be one of my keys. Obviously, the next key is going to be putting pressure on Michael Penix Jr. He doesn't handle pressure well. I mean, I've seen stats today where his completion percentage and his QBR while facing a blitz or facing pressure where he has to get pushed out of the pocket, it drops like 20 points on his QBR just right there. So he hasn't seen a lot of that this year because their offensive line is so good. So if we can do that, if he's going to step back and buy time and wait for these receivers to get open, we have to get pressure. And if we can't get it from the front four, we have to fabricate pressure by blitz packages.
Well, and we've talked all season about how Jonah Ellis is elite. I think we all agree Jonah Ellis is one of the best pass rushers in the country. Time to earn that title. Time to go back there, win your one-on-ones, and show us what you can do, dude. Because if you want to be a first-round draft pick, this would be a hell of a game to step up and show what you can do. Wild Ute, let's hear from you, man. What are the keys of the game?
So, guys, Michael Penix, as far as NFL comparables, okay? Think about this. So, Teddy Bridgewater and also Tua. Those are two comps that are similar to Michael Penix. And so you have to think to yourself, how do NFL defenses play these guys? Like they're pocket players. They're not looking to rush up the middle. They're not looking to play left or right. They're not Patrick Mahomes going to throw on the run. And Michael Penix is an absolutely dynamic, elite pocket passer, guys. He's the best in the nation from the pocket. He's so good that he is going to slice and dice us from the pocket, which is a problem because the offensive line's so good, right? I mean, that's the thing is like Brian talked about this, we have to get pressure up the middle this game. And if it's not coming from a normal front four, then you have to do blitz, exotic blitz, everything you can do to flush him out of the pocket, going left or right. You got to do it, guys. If you will lose this game if this game's played from the pocket. You have to control the pocket and move him out. This is the exact opposite of Caleb Williams. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. You got to make Caleb play in the pocket because he's so dang good on the move. You have to make Penix run. And he can still make those throws. He's that good, but he is so dynamic from the pocket. You have to explode it. You have to crash it. You have to flush him. That's the key to the game, number one. Big time. You have to do it. And just think of like playing a Teddy Bridgewater or Tua. That's how you play those guys as well. And then like for the Utes, this is so critical. It's just to get the ball first if you can get the ball and score first. Do not trail in this football game. Like seriously, do not defer. Do not kick for the second half. We cannot fall down 14 points in this game. We have to keep it close the whole game, and we have to score first. It's going to be so critical. So we need to be aggressive in the first quarter, the first half of the first quarter, to get up on these guys. We're at the +7 right when we get the ball. We have to take risks, like you said, Joseph. We've got to just do whatever it takes to win this football game. You have to throw the kitchen sink out. There's nothing else to lose here. This is the game of the year. This is the number 5 team in the nation. These guys are going to the college football playoff if they go undefeated. They've got a chance at a national championship. No one's giving us a shot. You throw everything out there and you play your hearts out because we're the back-to-back champs, and you get this freaking win. And you got to do everything. Everything needs to go smooth in this game, but you play aggressive. You go out there and get that touchdown, get that 3 points or whatever it takes. Score first, don't trail, and you crash the dang pocket and make them play outside the pocket.
Ooh, good speech, man. I am pumped, dude. I don't know about you guys. I know it sounds weird. I'm probably more excited for this game than I was for the Oregon game. I know that, like, I don't know what it is. There's something about this game. I think we're going to go beat the crap out of these guys. I know it sounds wild, but I really we have a chip on our shoulders. Like Wild, you said, silence out of the camp. They didn't have to do conditioning on Monday. It's about to be wild. Did you guys see that video? And then Wick goes, you guys win the second half. You don't have to do conditioning. That's why they beat him up so bad. But, dude, I'm excited, man. I don't know why. There's something about this game. Like we said, we got nothing to lose. We can just go out there, unload everything we've got. This is kind of a make or break sort of moment on our season. Like, it really is. It feels that way.
Because everything's on the table still. Everything's on the table still. We can still win the Pac-12 conference. Like, I mentioned that a bit ago, and I got laughed out of the room. And I'm like, I'm serious, guys. I think
we could absolutely win the Pac-12.
Yeah, it's true.
Brian and I talked about it after the ASU game. It is more likely we get to the Pac-12 conference right now than it was week 12 of last year. It is more likely right now than it was week 12. So,
and we're still counting on Oregon State to make it happen. Without Oregon State beating Washington, that's what it's going to take.
This just feels like classic Utah football game, like where we are the underdogs. This is the feel of a game for Alabama, Utah back in 2008 when no one's giving you a shot. Like, these are the type of games that Utah thrives in. Like, when we're heavy favorites in big games, we struggle sometimes, like the Oregon game. But this one, when everyone's like, oh, Washington's going to go to the CFP. Washington's already in the Pac-12 championship. I just have a hard time seeing Utah roll over, guys. Like, I'm with you guys. I think it's going to be a physical game. That's how we always like it. We have to have it that way. We get out and we play. I think we get this one done, guys. We get it done. Pumped.
Well, and on top of that, I think that number 18 CFP ranking we got was on purpose because they don't think we're beating Washington. And they don't want to give Washington a huge bump after they beat us. I call me crazy. I really think that's a big reason of why we got ranked number 18. I firmly believe that. Like, how do you beat a P5 team 55-3 that almost beat Washington 2 weeks ago, and you get no bump? I mean, that seems a little odd to me.
Well, the Tennessee situation, they got bumped that much. Well, Tennessee and Utah have a common opponent. Utah beat the common opponent. How in the hell did they jump us when one of their losses? Yeah. And ASU could beat UConn. I'm sorry.
KU jumps us too in the CFP. Like, I don't know, how does KU jump us with a close win in Iowa State after we?
Well, didn't KU beat Oklahoma
a couple weeks back?
Yeah, but they have a better win. I mean, I'm not going to get too hung up on better wins.
It's a big win. Oklahoma's a big win. Yeah. All right, well, let's talk about some over-unders, guys, and why we think or don't think the over-under will happen. Let's go ahead and get started with Bryson Barnes. Just so you guys know, there wasn't really a lot of props to find online, so I made these ones up. These are all from me. I think they're, within reason. All right, so let's go with Bryson Barnes, 224.5 passing yards. So the question is, do you think Bryson Barnes is going to get 225 passing yards? Brian, I want a spark of enthusiasm, so I'm starting with you. Let's go for it. Does he get it?
I mean, I talked Bryson Barnes up in that segment, so I mean, of course he doesn't get it, right? No, I don't think he's going to get over 224 and a half. I think he'll be pretty close to that, but that's, we haven't needed him to throw for 300 yards. What did he throw for? Close to 250 in against USC, maybe 240 something.
235.
Dang, now I'm starting to waffle here. I'm going to go under. I think our running game can get going against this Washington defense. They give up 180 yards a game. They can be exposed in the running game. We do so well with that. We've looked great. 3 out of the last 4 weeks. I think we'll probably see a lot more Sione Vaki in this game. I think he was sick against Oregon, and then banged up as well. So I think they were just kind of resting him against ASU. There was no need to put him back there. So I think he'll be a big boost. I do think we see Jaquindon. That dude's a straight up warrior. He fights for this team. He plays hurt every single game. He's done it all year with that high ankle sprain. He's going to come in and give everything he's got, I think. No way he sets this game. If he does, then he's seriously hurting. Yeah. So I think we can get going. I'm not saying he's going to finish the game, but every bit of a Jaquindon Jackson that we can get is going to help this team. He's so good in pass protection as well. So yeah, I wanted to talk about that in kind of my keys to the game, but I only talked about defense, so I had to get that out there here. Cool. Moral of the story: under 224 and a half.
Larry, you're up next, man. What do you think? Does he go over 224?
No, I don't think he gets 224. I think he's going to be right around 200.
Perfect.
So I'm going under.
Okay, cool. Anything you want to share about it?
Nope. I just Brian hit on a lot of it. I think it's going to be a well-balanced game. I think.
Wild, what are you thinking, man?
Up. I'm taking the over on this one. I'll tell you what, guys. Check this out. Okay. If Bryson plays the game of his life, and I'm thinking that he's going to do that in this game, he's going to have to throw for over 225. So 250, approaching 300. I think that he does it because the Utes are going to win this game. I'm confident in that. And if he does that, I'm going to buy one of those pig farmer shirts. Actually, I'm just thinking about this. This is my pig farmer, guys. I'm going to wear this next time I do a live show. I'm going to wear that "This is my pig farmer" shirt to represent Bryson Barnes after he throws for over 225 and wins this football game. So give me the over.
I love that, dude. I'm going to go over too. Up until a few minutes ago, I was thinking I'd go under. The reason I'm going over is in the past 3 games, which does include a game against USC, Washington's defense has allowed 291.7 yards per game. It's pretty damn terrible. And I would go as far as say I feel that Bryson is probably better than Stanford's quarterback and ASU's quarterback. And so if that's the average they're allowing per game, and we have a mean run game that you're going to have to load the box if you want to stop, I mean, I feel good about it. I think he goes for about 240, 250. So I'm with you, Wild. I think he does it. All right, next, let's talk about Utah's rushing yards, 199.5. Do we break 200 rushing yards? Larry, what do you think?
Yeah, I think we go over that by a little bit.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
All right, and then Brian, you go next.
Yeah, I see us probably getting about that 250 mark, 450 total yards offense.
I love it. And you, Wild, you?
I think that we go under on that one. Like, I think that we're probably in the 150 range and stuff. Bryson's going to have to make plays with his arms to win and stuff. They're going to crash the run, just like everybody does on us and everything. So it's going to be tough, though, in an opposing stadium to get a bunch of run yardage. I think that we do okay, but we're going to have to pass. We're going to have to balance the offense to win. So I kind of see it a little bit more balanced. 150, like 250 type deal, 150 rush yards.
I think, like Brian said earlier, someone said it earlier, that we are going to have to keep a close game. I think it was you, Wild. We cannot be playing from behind all game. So part of the game plan is it's going to need to be a neutral game script. A lot of the time, we're going to have to keep a good offensive game plan going. Washington over the past 3 games is allowing 5.2 yards per carry. You're allowing 5.2 yards per carry to USC, ASU, and Stanford. Utah is going to average 6 yards a carry, dude. We are going to run the ball at will on these guys. I mean, I don't even know how you can look at that number and disagree with that statement. I know it sounds really high. I mean, at least 5.5 yards a carry. I think they are going to have a bad day against our rushing offense. They're going to have a really bad time. I was even going to go under. This was another one, and then I saw that number, and I couldn't resist. We go for 250 against these, whatever you want to call them, losers. If
we rush for 250, we're going to control the game. You know, our first downs, that's going to equate to. I mean, is so massive.
Ask yourself, guys, like if ASU, Stanford, and USC could go for 5.2 yards a carry on these guys, can we go for 6?
Austin Jones was shredding them. That's Austin Jones. Like, he's decent.
He's the backup. He's the backup for USC. He's good, but he's the backup.
You know what else that does? It controls the clock, gives us the time of possession favor, and keeps their offense off the field. So I don't necessarily think we have to just air the ball out. So I will disagree a little bit about that, because if we can keep their offense off the field as much as possible, yet still move the ball and score, then that's not a bad thing.
I think Bryson Barnes is going to get about a third of our rushing yards, because with that passing game, if we do get that going, they're going to drop back and those lanes are going to be open for him to run. And he seemed a lot more aggressive last week to take them. So I have a feeling Bryson's going to have a good rushing day himself.
Hey, I want to do a quick mental health check with you guys. At this point, breaking down the numbers, do you feel significantly more or about the same as you did before you broke them down? Like more confident?
I feel more confident knowing that Washington's been hemorrhaging rushing yards to Stanford and ASU in particular, who have limited passing games, kind of like us, because Washington was definitely load the box. You'd imagine those games, and so that makes me feel a little bit more optimistic. I do think that they're absolutely going to load that box, and we're going to have to open up the deep pass still. But yeah, that's good news for us for sure. And like controlling this game is part of the keys to the victory. It's kind of like how we played USC. We had to control the game, limit possessions, and make it a Utah ugly football game. And so that's promising.
Oh, man, I'm excited. All right, Larry, what do you think, man? Do you feel more excited after breaking down the numbers or less?
No, I feel about the same after watching the game. Yeah, I feel about the same. I kind of got a good feel when I watched Washington USC. So cool. I feel about the same.
Brian?
Yeah, I also feel about the same. I think it was one of our first shows of the year when we were talking about the Pac-12, and I just said that I think we went through wins, loss, on our whole schedule, and I had this game as a win. I just felt like, Washington, they're high potent offense, but I felt we I feel like we match up pretty well against them, and I still feel that way.
Good points. All right, let's keep it going here. Let's talk about Vele. Receiving yards, 54.5. So do you think Vele breaks 55 receiving yards? I know both of you guys had the under on Bryson Barnes yards, so I'll go to you two first. Does Vele break 55 receiving yards? Brian, I saw you nod. He breaks it?
He breaks it. Yeah, Vele has played great the last couple games. Even against Oregon, he had, like 80-something receiving yards that game, I think, somewhere in that range. Last game, he looked great. Loved seeing him go tempo those first 2 possessions and got him his first 2 touchdowns of the year. Let's do more of that. He's one of those guys, he's the most seasoned receiver on this team. He's the guy that you go to in tough situations. He has great hands, big, tall, lanky body. He can win those 50-50 balls. Let's get him the ball.
Yeah, for sure. Good point, Brian. And on top of that, he's such a physical, big, tough receiver. He's getting tons of separation. Like some of those end zone catches, no one was near him. Like there was no one in 5 yards of him. What do you think, Larry? Does he break 55?
Yeah, I think barely. I think it was reported Washington's starting free safety's out.
Really?
Yeah. So to me, I think he's just barely going to get that. I think he's going to get around 60. I think it's going to be very balanced with the lot.
Can I change my Bryson Barnes over/under prediction?
No.
I didn't see that about the free safety.
Yeah.
Hey, but go for it. You smashing the over?
I'm smashing the over. Yeah. If the question is to me, I'm smashing that over big time. I'm more with Larry though. I don't think it's like a heavy. It's probably around like 60, 65, 70 yards. But really what's going to be important is we need him to convert at like 3+ first downs. We really need him to move the chains, add chains on like a 3rd down conversion. That's our guy right there, our pass guy. So we'll see him move the chains multiple times and we'll see him get around 60, 70 yards or more. Yeah.
That's great. Well, I'm with you guys. I think he'll get a couple of clutch first downs, and the 55 to 60 yards he gets will be a very important 60 yards that really does impact the game. But I don't think he'll get a ton of yards. I don't think he'll go much over 60. Let's go to the next over-under. I think this is a really fun one is Penix. Over-under for passing, 319.5. So does Penix break 320? Larry's shaking his head, so we'll bring it right to the Pac-12 Pilgrim himself. Larry, go for it. Tell us why he doesn't break 320.
Because we held Caleb Williams under 300. I know everybody likes to say Michael Penix is the best. Caleb Williams can make every throw that Penix can make. Plus, he's got the moves, and we held Caleb. I think we hold him to under 300.
That's a good one.
Yep.
All right, Wild, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I think we hold him to under 300.
Wait, real quick with Larry, what do you think he actually gets roughly? Like what?
I think he's going to go about 270, 280.
Cool. Wild, why don't you tell us?
Yeah.
What do you think he goes for?
A little less than 300. Yeah, like that 280, 290, right there in that range. So, I mean, he's going to get some passing yards, but the Utes are going to, bleed that clock out and stuff. So it won't be as many possessions for him. I think we'll get some stops. I think that really just bleed that clock down and everything. So, yeah, I see him getting less than 300.
Good. And Brian, let's hear it.
Y'all are on a roll. I'm in complete agreement with both of you. Under 300 was what I was thinking. Somewhere around 280 was what kind of a figure I had in my head. Bo Nix was under 300 as well. Caleb Williams was 254. I don't think we've allowed a 300-yard passer this year. So,
Mertz?
Did he have
Mertz
it?
got 300.
Yeah, we gave Mertz the dink and dunk fourth quarter.
Yeah, garbage time stuff.
Yeah, but that's a fake 300. That's like we won and he threw for 300.
Yeah,
that's not a
The only way he gets over 300 is if we're up big and we're allowing those opportunities to happen, I think. But
which I don't think we'll mind in that case. We won't.
No, let him go for 500 in that case.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I'll just kind of close it out. I definitely don't think they go for 319. They've averaged 300 passing yards per game over the last 3 games against Stanford, ASU, and USC. If you can barely put up 300 average on those teams, you are not doing it against Utah. I'll actually go even a little more bold. I think there's a chance he's closer to 2 than he is to 3. I think there's a chance that happens. All right, next point. Let's talk about Washington's rushing yards. Their running back had a coming out party last week and looked really good. I mean, this guy was pretty damn impressive. I also think USC looked terrible in the run defense game. I've never seen holes as big as USC had open. Like there were multiple times where no one was around him for 10, 15 yards on a play. So I think it's somewhere in the middle of him being a really good running back and USC's run D being just god awful. Does Washington go over 69.5 yards? Wild Ute, let's get started with you this time.
Man, that's a really low amount. 69.5 yards rushing.
We have a pretty damn good run defense. That's why
I'm taking the over on that. I mean, if I was thinking like it's probably going to be around 100, so I'm thinking like they're going to be approaching 100 rushing yards, and I think we'll have a good showing and everything. It's not going to be anything like the USC, like the gashes, those huge holes. What a joke! You know, the guys just any of us could have ran for 150 yards, last weekend. But yeah, we're not gonna give up that kind of garbage and everything. But we're gonna be really focused on playing the pass in this game, and with some of the blitzes that we're gonna be bringing, we're gonna let some runs bust a little bit. So I think probably around 90 yards rushing.
Speaking of the terrible USC defense, Alex Grinch is gone. But did anyone see that clip of him trying to break the huddle? I mean, talk about a guy I felt bad for him. Honestly, I've been like, hey, he should just step down, but it's like that was like, damn, dog. You didn't need to do him like that, guys. Jeez.
Yeah, that was horrible.
They left him hanging.
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
Imagine how much little faith you have in your coach to do that. Oh God. All right. Well,
and then the one dude, it looked like he was maybe giving him a hug. All he was doing was handing the water bottle around his back to the other guy.
Brian, go for it, man. Does Washington break 70 rushing yards?
I think last week was an anomaly for them against a really terrible USC defense that was, I mean, they had just thrown in the towel, I think, for the year defensively until Grinch was fired. I think we do hold them under 70 rushing yards. Yeah, I don't think they're going to try to run the ball on us that much. I could be wrong. Maybe they try to open that up, but I think Penix is going to try to eliminate the defensive line as much as possible by quick passing. I mean, that's what I think is going to happen. I don't know. I mean, I don't think that's a huge part of their game, but neither is running the football until last week. I mean, they really haven't been a great running team.
That was it. Last week was like the only game they ran the ball. That was it.
Yeah. So, I'm going to go under. I'm going to go under on both. I think the defense really steps up this week.
So you guys, by the sound of it, it's like 360 total yards. If they're under, right? Like, so we're basically saying overall yardage like 350 and under, right? I mean,
just to address that real quick, they averaged 441 against USC, Stanford, and ASU. I mean, those defenses are not in the ballpark of our defense.
And then our defense gives up like what, like
280,
60. Yeah, but if like for the normal average, like what a team normally averages offensively, we give up about 60 something % of that. Let's just say 2/3 of that. So, if it was 441, we're looking at around 300 yards.
You probably give them a little boost for the home field advantage. That might equate to 20 yards or whatever. So yeah, I guess guys, if we hold them to less than 350, we're going to want to win this football game.
Larry, have you commented? Did I ask you?
No, yet? I figure they're going to get about 70 to 80. I think they'll get about 70 to 80 on the ground. I think they're going to have around 350 to 370 total. But like you said, Joseph, if they don't have those explosives, that's huge. If you can give Washington 400 yards, and if they don't have the explosives, they're only scoring way less than the yardage. So
I'm with you 100%, Larry. I think it's they're not going to get a ton of yards. I brought it up earlier in the show. They don't put up as much yards as you would think. They put up a lot of yards. I mean, but it's like their points are the most impressive thing about this team. They put up a lot of points. And I'm with you. I think it's going to be about limiting the points they get, not limiting the yards they get, right? I think we will be under on the rushing yards just because I think shutting down the run, they had a good rushing game last week. And I think if we can make them really, really one-dimensional, which they already are, but if we can keep them to that, that's one of our keys to winning this game. Like, do not let them run the ball on you. If they run the ball, hit them really hard, Coke Bishop, rip the guy's helmet off, whatever you got to do, dude. All right, so over under next, let's talk about some defense. The Utah defense, 1.5 turnovers. Does Utah create 2 turnovers in this game? Larry, this time I'm going to start with you. Do they, and why?
I think they go under. I think we get maybe one interception. So I'm going to go under on that.
Brian?
Yeah, turnovers are a hard thing to predict anyways. It's kind of one of those luck stats. I'm kind of with Larry, probably 1 interception. I don't see Penix throwing into traffic a lot more if he does get an interception. And the reason why I don't think that we're going to see a lot of quarterback sacks to cause a fumble, and then they're probably not going to be able to run the ball, and they're not going to run it a lot to create a fumble. 1.
All right. And what about you, Wild Ute?
I'm going under too on the 1 turnover. That's right up the alley, guys. Like, I think you're right about that. Is it going to come from an interception, possibly a strip sack? Just one. Though. I don't see it happen multiple times. These guys play too efficient, too clean and stuff to be hemorrhaging turnovers. I just don't see that happening. I don't think it's supposed to be like really rainy, sloppy weather either. So I'm thinking 1 turnover.
All right. Well, I'm going to have to hardcore disagree with all 3 of you. In the past 3 games, Washington is averaging 2.3 turnovers per game. Our defense is going to be way better than any of the defenses they've played. I actually think there's a good shot we get 3 turnovers in this game. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And I think our defense, and if the game goes the way we think it's going to go, they are not just going to coast on a big lead. They're going to have a dog fight till the very end. If not, hopefully play from behind a little bit. Mm-hmm. They're going to have to take some risks, and I think they're going to turn the ball over. All right, Washington's defense, 1.5 turnovers. Does Utah turn over the ball more than once? Wild, let's start with you.
No, I think Utah turns it over 1 time. And this is going to be so critical. If you turn it over more than 1 time, it's probably game over. We don't have that type of margin in this football game. So I'm thinking maybe like a Barnes interception. I could see that. So 1 Utah turnover.
All right, you, Brian?
I'm going to go no also. We're actually one of the best teams in the country at limiting giveaways. And I think that this is going to be one of those games where we're really focused on that. We can't be turning the ball over. Barnes has got his mistakes, out of his way. They're good learning experiences. I think we have 0 turnovers this game.
I think that's a safe bet. What about you, Larry?
Yeah, I think we're going to be under 1.5 turnovers. We're pretty clean. We're clean. Yep.
Good points. I'm on the same page with all you guys. Utah isn't a team that turns the ball over much at all. We're averaging 1 turnover in our last 3 games, so I don't think we'll average any higher against Washington. So I'm with you guys. And 2 of those turnovers, at least 2, maybe 3, were against Oregon. I know the 2 interceptions from Barnes. I'm not sure if there was another one that I'm not thinking of. So,
how is Washington turning it over? Is it Penix interceptions? Is it fumbles?
It's because they suck, Wild. That's the problem right there.
He had 1 pick against USC, and it was Gentry.
Oh, yeah.
Got up there and he tipped it, and I think it ended up in Bullock's gut. So
Matthew Castleton posted in the chat, didn't ASU generate 4 turnovers against them? Think about that ASU team, guys. 4 turnovers.
Penix is the 7th most efficient passer in the nation.
Bro, you not watched the ASU game, Larry? They were so bad, dude.
I didn't watch it. I saw the score and I was like, was that Iowa versus Minnesota? What?
Yeah, ASU lost that game, giving up a pick 6 from about the 10-yard line. You know, Washington's 10-yard line. So Washington scored 6 offensive points that game.
By the way, real quick, Wild Ute, I think you brought this up a minute ago. We are expecting showers of rain for the game on Saturday. So it is going to rain. It is going to pour. Receivers are going to drop some balls, and I think that favors Utah a lot. Like, it's going to be a sloppy, nasty. Oh, dude, we are going to make them turn the ball over 15 times.
With that knowledge,
you should have given us the weather prediction before this.
Right. I just so you guys know, we were talking about Utah football stats and analysis earlier. He messaged me a minute ago to say, like, hey, like, I'm watching the show. I don't know if you saw, but so yeah.
Hey, congrats on he's 10,000 followers on X Twitter, so congrats to him.
Yeah, dude, he's awesome. The man, bro. Awesome. Honestly, like we chat all the time in like private messages. I've been trying to get him on here forever. That's going to be my goal. If you're watching this Utah football stats and analysis, we're going to get you on here. You'll be on here eventually, no matter how much you try not to be. Well, we'll figure it out. But we'll get him on, guys. He's a cool guy. All right.
He's going to be He's going to be duct taped and tied in the corner behind Joseph one of these shows.
Right up against the wall. All right, guys. Let's keep going here. Utah sacks 2.5. This is what I'm pretty interested in hearing what you guys think. Larry, there was a big sigh there, so I'm going to go first to you again. I want to hear what you think.
I'm gonna say we get I'm gonna go over.
Whoa.
I think we're gonna see some corner safety blitzes because they like to run a tight trips. If you ever got an opportunity to send Vaki or Broughton, it's in that set. I'm gonna go over. Over.
Nice. I love it. One of the best offensive lines in the country. We get 3 sacks on them. What do you think, Wild Ute?
I think we go over too. I think Joe Nels has a massive game. I think that we have these exotic pressures like Larry just mentioned. I think that you really blitz a lot you have to blitz this team. Penix is going to dice you up if you don't blitz them and want to get pressure with the front 4. We have to get in there. We have to get him down. That's going to be key to the game too, is having multiple sacks. I think that we're over 2.5.
Good points. And what about you, Brian? You got a big smile. What is it?
Pound the over, baby. I'm right there with these guys. Wild Ute kind of took the words out of my mouth with the exotic blitz packages. I think we're going to see a lot of that. We're going to see stunning and twisting up front to try to cause confusion amongst this offensive line. We're going to generate pressure one way or the other. We have to, and Scally knows that. And we have such a strong defensive front that they can do it.
Dude, I love it. I'm actually going to go under. Not that I don't think our D-line will have a great game. I just think there will be a lot of hurries and a lot of knockdowns more than it'll be a lot of sacks. I think we'll get 1 or 2 sacks. I just don't know if we'll quite get to 3. The next thing to go over is Washington sacks. Does Washington get 2.5 sacks on Utah? Do they get to 3 sacks against Utah? Let's go ahead and start with Brian on this one.
No, go under on that. Our offensive line's done a good job. We had a lot of sacks early in the year, but we've limited that lately. And just by having Bryson back there full time and getting more comfortable, I think he's able to get the ball out and, evade some of the pressure a little bit better. Plus, Washington's defensive front just doesn't generate a lot of sacks. Just looking at the numbers. So yeah, I'm going to go under on Washington getting, 2.5?
Yep, 2.5. So 3 sacks, basically. All right, and Larry, you next.
I think they'll get more than 2.5.
Really?
I mean, they're not going to be the worst. I think our center's going to miss a block once. I think Bryson's going to try to cut the edge once, and he's going to get sacked. He's going to get taken down behind the line. And then I think they'll get 3. I think they'll get at least 3 on us. All
right. What about you, Wild? What do you think? Over, under?
Yeah, I'm thinking under here. I think that we're going to hold up. I think we're going to run the ball a lot, have some short passes, play action, and throw hopefully connect on some deep passes too. I just don't think there will be a lot of opportunity necessarily for sacks on Barnes, and I think that we're going to hold up versus these guys. So I'm liking how our offensive line's playing. Hey, can I respond to that last message by, I think it's CJ Youth? Okay, so this ASU game, like ASU plays Washington tough. You know, like those matchups that just don't make any sense. Like these two teams that just play each other so tough. You guys, Washington's on a 15-game winning streak. Going back to last year when they lost to ASU. That's the last loss they ate is ASU last year that kept them out of the Pac-12 championship game and maybe the playoff last year. So it's a weird thing. ASU plays Washington tough. Doesn't make any sense. I'm telling you guys, throw that game out and look at everything else because those games just are wonky.
Yeah, but if you're gonna say that, you might as well throw out our Oregon game.
Throw it out.
We're gonna throw out the bad game. Throw out the Oregon
throw
game.
the dang game out.
Yeah. I'm with you. Let's throw that one out. Anything else you want to say on that, Wild Ute?
Yeah, I just think that will hold up. I think less than 2.5 sacks for Washington.
So I would say I'm with you guys. I'm going to smash the under hard. I actually think there's a chance they get 0 sacks against us. And I've been super critical of this offensive line all year. So think about this team, right? Washington is the number 1 passing offense in the country, averaging 383 yards per game passing the ball. How many game scripts was this D-line able to pin their ears back and just attack quarterbacks? Because the other team on the other side of the ball, all they could do was throw for 2-3 quarters. And they have a sack percentage on the season of 3.34. This is probably the worst D-line we've played all year. I'm going to go ahead and say they get 0 sacks and they'll be lucky to get 2 pressures. All right.
I love it.
I hope that. I hope you're so right.
We're gonna truck this D line. It sounds like.
I mean, did that not make sense? How I broke it down? I mean,
it did. It made sense.
We should truck this D line,
dude. I'm excited. All right, final predictions for the game, guys. Let's break down what we think the score is, how it happens, why it happens, and you guys in the chat, drop it down there too. Smash that like button. What a fun night, guys. So glad to have you here. Larry, you look like you were just about to jump out of your seat. Let's start with you. Go for it, Larry. What happens in this game?
I think it's just a battle back and forth. I think we try to control possession time. I think we keep a balanced offense. We score. We get some stops. It comes down to the end. We're up by a field goal, and we shut their offense down to win it. 30-27.
All right, perfect. I love it. Wild Ute, what do you think's going to happen, and how does it happen?
Yeah, I think that we come out, we're playing pretty hot. We're playing motivated, physical. I think that we get the ball first, or in the first possession, we score 3. We're up 3-0 on those guys. They punt it back to us. We go up 10-0. So everything's going well. We're all going crazy and everything. First quarter up 10-0. Washington comes back, roars back, scores 2 touchdowns, 14-10. This is battle. The end of the game, I think we're going to see it coming down to the wire here. Washington's going to score a fairly late touchdown to score 31. Utah's down a full touchdown. I think Utah goes down the field towards the end of the game, scores a touchdown 30-31, and then hits the 2-point conversion, wins 32-31.
Don't put us through that, please.
Yeah,
I think it's just going to be an absolute dogfight. I think that we're going to come out again. I think it's just going to be back and forth, the second through the fourth quarter. But we're going to have to throw a 2-point conversion out there to beat these guys. I think it's going to happen.
Dude, I love it. All right, Brian, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with the start of that game. I think we're going to get up. I think we're going to stay up. Penix is he's going to start to press a little bit, which is where his 1 interception we talked about earlier comes from. Utah scores again and basically just kind of just slowly walks away with this thing. I think Washington kind of just keeps it within a 13 or so point margin, but never can quite get over that. And I see Utah putting points on the board this week. I see Utah getting 41 points. And the defense is going to be the normal Utah defense we've talked about all year. And we hold this Washington team to 4 touchdowns, 41-28.
Damn, Brian, I love it. I love it, dude. And just so you know, I'm actually on board with you, man. I think Utah gets a big win. I think everything we just broke down shows that Utah's offense should absolutely move the ball on this defense. I don't see how we're going to struggle. I really don't. I think our offense is going to – anything can happen. But we are going to move the ball against them. We're going to throw the ball pretty well, but we're going to run the rock at will. Our O-line is going to dominate their D-line. Our defense is not just the best in the Pac-12. It's one of the best in the country, guys. They are not just going to do what they did against ASU, Stanford, and USC. We are going to make them look very above average on offense. They're not going to look great. They're going to look above average, like a decent squad that is playing an elite defense. And our offense is going to come out there. We're going to run the rock like crazy. Brian, I'm almost the exact same prediction. 38-28, Utah gets a 10-point win. I don't predict a lot of 10-point wins. We usually lose when I do it, but hey, it is what it is. I'm going to be honest, though. If you took the numbers, right, we broke them all down. Brian put them together. If you take those numbers and you put them in front of me and you erase the name Washington, I would feel just not even concerned. So that's where I'm at. Big time win, guys. Let's get it done. Go Utes. Come on, baby. Let's get it done. All right. Before we get out of here, any final comments, Brian? Anything else you want to say?
Yeah, I wanted to comment on this person in the chat that said Oregon didn't get 40 on Washington. LOL. Tough. We get 41.
Larry, what are your final thoughts, dude?
So like Kirk Herbstreit said, Utah got their get-right game, and Washington's coming off a road victory that was very hard fought. Just like Utah did, we went to the Coliseum, fought hard to win, came home and laid an egg against the Ducks. And Washington just went through a hell of a game, and now they got to come home and follow up. So throwing that out there.
I love it. Wild, you, what about you?
We've got a chip on our shoulder. We have been disrespected, 18 in the CFP. We're better than that. This team is this is one of the best defenses in the land, as you said. So we're going to come out with some fire. We're going to hit them hard, and it's going to be a freaking battle. And we're going to take this from Washington, the number 5 team in the nation, and we might just be bouncing the Pac-12 from the playoff.
Dude, I'm so with you, man.
This is so Pac-12, y'all. This is so Utah football. This is everything that we know and love and expect from this conference. And there's no way to finish this out better than Utah beating Washington when they've got a CFP berth on the line right here, basically. You guys know it's coming, and they don't see it. Like, all you nation feels good about this game. I'm telling you guys, it's nuts. Like, we all feel comfortable about this game. And the Washington fans think they're going to smoke us. They don't know what's coming.
They've got to be nervous.
They're not nervous, Joseph. They're not.
Yeah, but they're acting like they're not nervous. They know. They know there's a shot we come in there and beat the crap out of them.
I'm telling you, they just don't. They can't even fathom it. They haven't lost in 15 games. I mean, they're living on cloud nine.
And they keep going back to the Utah-Oregon game, yet they just completely ignore the Washington-Arizona State game. That didn't happen, but the Utah-Oregon game did. So.
Yeah, they didn't play last year. Washington got while Oregon State was decent. They didn't play Utah. They didn't play USC last year. Washington had one of the weakest schedules, but they did beat Texas in the Alamo, which was impressive. So I'll give them that. But yeah, who they play? We got this.
Yeah, guys, I'm so excited. This was such a fun night. Seriously, if you guys have been watching this long, whether you're a Washington fan or a Utah fan, smash the like button. Also, comment in the chat before or after the video what your prediction is. We would love to hear it and why you think it's going to happen that way. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, we put out a ton of great content and a lot of live streams that are a ton of fun. So be around for those. Share the video with a friend. We're out of here. Utah's about to shock the world. Go Utes.
Go Utes.